Been looking to hearing our speaker tonight, Gipson Baucum. He's preaching for the Heritage Place Church of Christ. He's been there since November of last year. And I told Gipson, I said, it's always encouraging when the preacher that's coming comes, especially for the preacher. But I've been encouraged because of more than that. But also been enjoying getting to know him at JCA as well. But he sent me some things I want to just make sure I mention. That he's been preaching since November of 2021, but Gipson's career in ministry has also filled several other roles, from youth ministry to education ministry, while also serving churches in Tennessee, Georgia, and Kentucky. Gipson studied Bible and business at Freed-Hardeman University, where he finished an MA in New Testament in 2001. During his time in ministry, Gipson has developed a strong love for leading people to become genuine disciples of Jesus. He loves to preach about the grace of God, Jesus' reign as King, the unity of believers, and fullness of life in the kingdom. The love of Gipson's life is Stephanie. They have been married for 24 years and have 4 children whom they adore. Claire, age 20, Will, 16, Caroline, 13, and Mathis, 4. And so that means his oldest is 20, his youngest is 4, and he's here tonight just to get a break, I believe. Gipson enjoys reading and talking theology, Star Wars, Marvel movies, and Braves baseball. We relate very well there. Family loves games and beach trips and being a part of the life of God's people in the church. Gipson, thanks so much.
Well, thank you, Richard, for telling everybody just exactly what I told you to say. If you want to know some stories about Richard, I spent some time in the Atlanta area where he grew up. Just come see me. Actually, I won't be able to tell you a thing because he was off at Freed-Hardeman most of the time that I was there. But I did enjoy making his company then, his acquaintance then, and getting to know him, and glad to be reacquainted with him now here. Have you ever been caught on the other side of a bursting or exploding dam? Metaphorically, of course. I'm assuming you wouldn't be here if you had literally been caught on the other side. But just dealing with forces that not only could you not control, but that threatened to just absolutely sweep you away. Maybe you felt like you've been at places in times of your life where you've been trying to swim upstream and you just can't make any progress because the forces that are coming against you are too weighty. I'm reminded of a moment in the book of Acts, where we read about Saul, who thought he was making all kinds of headway and progress against the church in chapters 8 and following, 7 and 8. And he was viciously persecuting God's people, rounding them up, taking them to jail, even going so far as to get letters from the Sadducee or the Sanhedrin court to go all the way to Damascus, a really long trek in another country in Syria, to persecute Christians, bind them up, and bring them back and throw them in jail. He was vicious. Stood there and held the coats of those who were stoning Stephen, who was martyred. And when he got there, or on the way there, you'll remember the story, of course. The narrative tells us that all of a sudden there's a great light, and Saul is blinded, falls to the ground. And the people that are there with him don't know what's going on. And as Saul recounts this moment to Herod Agrippa in Acts chapter 26, he said he heard a voice in the Hebrew language in verse 14 that said, "Saul, Saul, why are you persecuting me? It is hard for you to kick against the goads." It's hard for you to kick against the goads. You know what a goad is, right? Those of you who are farmers know that a goad is a long prod that has a sharp end, and when the ox is not doing what it's supposed to, you tap him with that goad or you shove it at him, put it in his hindquarters, and it makes him go on. But when the ox is stubborn, he kicks against the goad, and he rips fiber and tears muscle. And then he's no good either to the farmer or to himself. He hurts himself. And that's the position that Saul was in. Swimming against forces that he could not control, He was the movable object that was met by the irresistible force. And all he could do was say, "Who are you, Lord?" How fortunate for Saul of Tarsus that Jesus Christ had plans for him. Plans for him to be a witness, plans for him to share the glory of God, not just to the Jewish people, but all out amongst the nations. And how fortunate for us that Saul chose to recognize his purpose and no longer struggle and fight against the Messiah, the King of Israel. Maybe you're at a place in your life where you recognize the hard consequences of kicking against the goad, of trying to fight the irresistible force when you know good and well you're the movable object. Maybe you've seen destruction in your wake, destruction in your own life, destruction that's come into the lives of people that you know because you have insisted on doing the wrong thing at the wrong time. Maybe you're ready to stop fighting against the irresistible forces and move forward according to your purpose. God will bless you, and He can do things with you that you cannot possibly imagine if you will just let Him. And if that's your desire tonight, then we want to help you. All you have to do is make your way forward, ask to be baptized, to become a disciple of Jesus, or ask for our prayers as you seek to get back on track. We want to help you with that right now. All you have to do is come now while we stand and sing.